hello, and welcome back to Revisiting History, Revisiting People series. I am sad to announce the passing of my guest, historian and friend Robert Pearson of Skull Valley, Arizona. Although I'm just finding out this information, Bob passed away in September of 2019, and he has left this planet a better place because of his contributions to Arizona and United States history. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you for the final time Mr. Robert Pearson. Godspeed, friend. All right, so I'm here with Bob Pearson of the Skull Valley Historical Society. This is a massive honor for me. This is amazing. We've already taken a brief look at the schoolhouse. So I guess I want to start with Skull Valley, the history of this place in general. I know there's a couple stories about how this place began. Most of them seem like they're pretty intense and brutal situations. I don't know if you can go into that at all.
Well, I can, but I'd like to start with Beringia.
Perfect.
Now, Beringia was the temporary 45,000 year period when people could cross from one continent to the other.
Okay.
Into Eastern Europe, isn't that what we call it? And not only did man cross that, and it was like 1,000 miles wide, and there was about a 300-foot differential in the sea level at that time for this 4,000 or 5,000 year period. And not only did man cross that, and that's how most of the Native Americans came into North and South America.
Okay, through that strait.
Right.
Okay, wow.
The land, they call it a land bridge, and Beringia is the official name, I think, of it.
Okay.
And so a lot of them stayed in Alaska. For instance, the Navajo, they were later coming south than most of the other Indians in this area.
Of course.
And we have diversity of Indian tribes in the state, which is kind of interesting. They're always enlisted with various
Definitely.
groups. And we lived in Flagstaff and Chambers in eastern Arizona. My dad worked for Santa Fe, and that's put us into a variety of places in the country.
This is the Santa Fe Railroad.
Santa Fe, right, railroad.
Wow.
Yeah, I just had to peek into Santa Fe, actually.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So, and that had a deep connection to the Transcontinental Railway, correct?
Yeah, it was the Peavine Railroad is what the local section of track between Ash Fork and Phoenix. That was the name that it obtained because of the circuitous routing up over Iron Springs Mountain.
Wow.
And Prieta Mountains between there and Prescott.
Okay.
And they, in '61, they started rerouting that rail because it was such a costly and time-consuming, and they had to connect helpers to come down to Skull Valley out of Prescott to push the added horsepower to get the freight trains over the top of the hill into Prescott.
Man, these mountains aren't easy to transverse, especially early on.
Yeah.
Wow. So we have the natives coming across the land bridge,
right,
and then we have them migrating into the southwest.
And they went clear South America also.
Of course.
And so that's and besides the Native Americans that actually were native Mongolia and all eastern Russia and various countries like that.
Oh wow.
So, well, where did men start? Africa, I think.
Right.
So anyway, their gradual migration into this country and across the land bridge, and conflicted with each other. There was competition for the resources. I mean, just like there is today, but
Yes.
on a different level, obviously.
Of course.
And so, you know, we enjoyed giving a tour to the Yavapai and Prescott Yavapai and to the Yavapai Apache Nation group come over here and give a tour of the valley. And
So
they were seemed to be concentrated on where the white man had massacred their people.
okay.
And that's a different story. But anyway, I tried to show them what I knew of and the reason Skull Valley got its name was because of a massacre.
Of course.
But it was two different Indian groups, one against the other. And how Skull Valley got its name was the first territorial governor coming into Skull Valley. We're 1 day travel time in territorial days out of Prescott. And the governor was en route to Tucson, where the largest population existing in the territory of Arizona.
Oh, wow.
In the early 1863, 1864.
Wow.
So
1863.
anyway, they were headed down there, and they stopped overnight in Skull Valley, and the security officer in the military wrote in his diary, "The Valley of the Skulls." And that's basically the source, the root source of, because there were all these unburied skeletons in the Skull Valley area. We don't know where that exact site was.
Of course.
We know some of the later history where, close to where Barbara lives, there's a place called Battle Point.
Battle Point.
And it was kind of a squeeze where the valley necked together.
Okay.
So the freight wagons coming from the Colorado River had to go close to, and so they could set up an ambush.
Oh, right
And
there.
knew where the squeeze point was.
Wow. So it was almost like a natural pinch point where
Yeah.
you could just ambush anybody
Right.
coming through. That's
And then the other location, the Indians, according to my understanding, stopped a freight wagon, or several freight wagons, headed up to Prescott to the territorial capital. And it's called Grapevine Springs. And there's still a lot of grapevines and a lot of moisture there to support the grapevines.
oh wow.
And big boulders. And as you're coming out of Prescott, there's kind of a bouldery mountain, small hill, large hill. And that springs comes under the mountain from the creek where the Santa Fe has their water right.
Wow.
And so that combination, there was good hiding places.
Of course.
And so they hid there, and then they confronted, stopped the freight wagons. And they were demanding that all Europeans leave Skull Valley, that this was their land, their resources, and they wanted white men out within a week or 2 weeks or something like that.
Of course.
And so they were holding up this freight wagon, getting on into Prescott with its supplies.
Wow.
And finally, one of the local infantry person that was with the freight wagon, I think, got out and contacted and brought some additional soldiers to come in and
Oh
help.
wow.
And so then the third day, basically, I think, is when the battle broke out.
So there was between
Yeah.
American soldiers
And
and
the Yavapai.
Yavapai. Okay.
And of course, the armament, there was no contest.
No.
So I think there was one European lost, and we had 23 Indians.
Wow. They're disproportionate.
Yeah.
Wow.
So anyway, that's Peavine Springs.
Peavine Springs. So in the you said that there was the conflict between the Native Americans. So
Yeah, and that story, I think it's written up, I'm sure it's written up, because otherwise
Okay.
we wouldn't have it today.
of course.
But they don't have DNA, back
Yes.
in the theory is that in the desperate times in a long drought period,
Okay.
the Yavapai were not agricultural-based food supply. They were hunters-gatherers.
Wow.
That's one of the reasons why it's such a large territory that they existed in.
Yes.
Back and forth seasonally. But with this prolonged drought, they were starting to starve to death up here.
Oh, no.
And so they weren't what you'd call friendly with the Maricopa or Gila, whichever tribe group it was down there. I don't know the
Of course.
It's referred to variously between Maricopa and the Gila. And so they had canals and agricultural based, and so they weren't dependent on the climate situation.
Okay.
And so they went down on bended knee and recovered, and then were invited to leave after a reasonable period of time. And they didn't, they were given a certain supply for their travel period. And they apparently decided that they wanted to take more than what they were given. So the Maricopas, I think, were out doing an annual celebration of some sort where a lot of the people were gathered from the little scattered villages in the farming area to a central point where they were doing this important ceremony.
Wow.
And so there were few people left in the villages, and so the Yavapai went into one or two of these villages and took more things.
My, that's quite a story. Is it strange because it's like a clash of civilizations? You have a society, a hunter and gathering civilization, and then you have an agricultural society,
Right.
and then they kind of clash. That's
Well, yeah, but it wasn't that they normally clashed.
just the drought.
But apparently they didn't have good friendly relationships prior to this major massacre.
Didn't help.
And as I understand it, the Maricopas weren't a normal fighting, conflict type of
Really? Okay.
culture, and so it took them a couple of days before they could get people prepared to go and pursue the Yavapai.
Wow.
And they caught up with them here in Skull Mountain.
Oh man.
And then it was a fight to where there wasn't enough able-bodied people left to do the proper burial. That's the basic
wow.
theory of what happened and why the skeletons were left here. There's some question, there was talk about it being back in the 1300s.
Wow.
And we don't know, I don't know how long a skeleton exposed to the weather could be left, anything trace left.
Yeah.
So I really don't know the legitimacy of that part of it.
Yeah.
So it should be ferreted out.
But the myth is 1300 around there.
I'm sorry.
The myth, the general consensus.
Yeah.
Wow, 1300. That's significant. That's so whenever the Maricopa were pursuing them, was there, as far as we know, if had they attacked and then we had this conflict, is it not typical to bury? Because I mean, because we found these skeletons. Are there usually some pretty intense burial rites and stuff that are administered?
Well, I don't know that much about the
Of course.
Particular tribe, what their burial customs were. I do know that one of the largest natives, Dora Blue, went as a teenager, a young teenager, maybe preteen, went out in the Grapevine Springs area and found an Indian skeleton on a flat rock under somewhere in the valley. I don't know a lot of the details, but I know he carried it home, knowing that his mother probably didn't want it in the house. He put it under his bed.
Oh my!
And when she found it, then she made him take it and put it back where he got it.
Of course. Wow. That's amazing. But so this area, I mean, it must be just a very desolate place at one point, because to have a lot of people very struggling out here. I mean, between the Gila and the Yavapai I mean, just the conflicts and the skeletons being found. That's pretty.
Well, I think that was pretty much just the conflict over this
That one situation.
wrong behavior.
Of course.
And I think it was more than complicated. I mean, taking infantry tools.
Oh no.
I think that was the last straw.
Wow. And not just that, the drought. I mean, we know how resource strain can put pressure on any community. It's very intense. So, in its modern context, when was Skull Valley founded?
In its modern context, it was founded along with the territorial capital.
Wow, so 1912?
And, the Walker Party was the main effort and organization that came into the Central Mountain of Arizona, this area here. They were looking for gold.
Okay.
And it was their second effort where they found gold on Lynx Creek.
Wow, in Lynx?
On Hassayampa.
Wow.
Hassayampa.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And 4 of the Walker Party ended up taking up homesteads here in Skull Valley because of its water and good fertile soils. And so that's because a lot of the early miners, although the Walker Party focus was on discovering gold and profiting from it.
Of course.
Few of them were able to make a living doing it.
Wow.
So a lot of them spread out into farming where it was productive for farming and did that, and they supplied the Fort Whipple.
Oh wow.
Fort Whipple, and then there were military down at Deep Exposure. They came in 1866, the fall of 1866, moved into southern into Skull Valley.
Okay.
And set up camp, and I think the fellow got in trouble for doing it, the local commander. But he built a couple wooden structures down on the south end of the valley near a spring.
Really?
And that next spring, his camp was inspected. And we have a copy of the orders for him to move lock, stock, and barrel, basically, back to Date Creek where the designated, because that's close to a division of the routing, one going to Wickenburg and one coming to Prescott from the end of navigation on the Colorado River.
So that would have been more of like a strategic point where we were located.
Right.
Okay.
So that military was supposed to protect both the route to Wickenburg and the route to the territorial capital.
Just wanted to, so comparisonly, this area is a lot nicer than where they were originally stationed.
A lot more comfortable somewhere.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell you, we're here in the summer right now, and it's beautiful out. It's down in Phoenix right now. You couldn't have the door open. It'd be 115 degrees. So this is a beautiful town, very beautiful town.
That's why I can't understand how my sister lives in Phoenix.
Oh man, it seems counterintuitive. Granted, we're there for a while currently, so I guess that says something about our mindset. So this one's kind of a little bit of like an offhand question. So, and I personally, I don't believe in like superstition, generally speaking. But I did see something about the cemetery being haunted and some accounts that have been recorded. Is there any kind of water in that, or is that more?
I don't know where that came from because I've never.
Okay.
Have you ever heard that?
No.
I figured it was probably.
We have a Pioneer Cemetery.
Okay, that'd be good.
It's on private land here, not far from here, but it's
Not
being private land, it's not something everybody has access to. But we have records of who was buried there, and some were moved from the old Pioneer Cemetery to the current cemetery.
That's amazing. So how about
of course, like I said, I thought I'd ask anyways because I saw some stuff online about the ghosts and stuff. But
Well, the only ghost thing I can think of is one of our neighbors built $1 million house up here, adobe.
oh wow,
And the foundation, and what happened is, due to flood control, county requirements, all that stuff, they had to build a pad up a little elevated above the, quote, the flood zone.
okay,
And they didn't get good compaction on that pad.
oh no,
And so the house settled and whatnot, and it had cracks all over it. And adobe
Yes.
structure, clay, expansive clay and movement. And so they had to go in and re-caulk a major,
oh no,
and they caulked it with white, I think it was, or something like that, all these cracks. And
Yes.
that looked like a beautiful, on Halloween, a ghost house.
of course, that's
the
amazing.
only thing that I
Yeah, I
relate to ghosts.
I figured it was nonsense, but I figured I'd ask. So, again though, we did find something about a possible chief being discovered in the area.
What?
Was there a chief discovered in the area at one point?
There is a camel,
A camel.
a fossilized camel,
Okay.
exposed on the surface in the tough stone formation.
Wow, so it's actually in the stone.
Yeah, it's a fossilized stone structure
Wow.
of this camel, and it's a very small camel.
So-
And there were both migration out of this continent and migration in. So during that 4,000 year period, big game, anything that could mobile
Of course.
could do this exchange.
Wow. So it's like a miniature camel.
It's a
almost?
miniature camel.
Wow, that is amazing.
And we had a fellow from Charlotte Hall Museum got a positive identification of the exposed bones on the surface of that rock.
That's so awesome. So you guys have verified it and everything.
Yeah, oh yeah.
That's amazing. So, one of the things I was wondering is, what are some of the ways this town sustains itself currently today? So,
I missed a key word there.
how does the town sustain itself today? So, what are some of the major industries within Skull Valley?
Well, for a long time, Baghdad Mine was a
Baghdad.
major local industry.
Okay.
And it's about an hour's travel time from here.
Okay.
And several of our acquaintances and several people that lived in Skull Valley.
Of course.
Worked there.
Very nice.
The railroads, government, but a lot of it was retired folks.
Sorry, folks.
But mostly it was ranching to start with.
Okay.
And Angora goat was the primary grazing animal because of the oak brush chaparral type of plant cover on the hills. Because
Okay.
mostly it's hills, but a lot more expansive hills around there than there is valley bottom.
Of course.
And like I say, that's where what got settled first, and it was more productive for farming and gardening and that type of thing. And they supplied the miners and the Fort Whipple with food supply, fresh food supplies and stuff.
So this place was extremely relevant to the success of Fort Whipple, and not just that, but the prospering areas in the area. I mean, this.
Well, yeah, Skull Valley is one of the places that can supply food supply, fresh food supplies, of course.
So are they still mining out there at Baghdad Mine, or has it been?
Yeah,
mostly shut off?
Baghdad Mine is still functional. And
Really?
It's primarily copper
Copper. Okay.
and molybdenum as a byproduct.
Okay. And what would that? Do you know what that's used for generally, or is it just kind of? And I never even heard of that. Yeah.
I don't think so. It's a specialized use of some sort.
Okay, some sort of like probably
But it's
technology or something.
valuable enough that they save it for commercially
Okay.
marketed.
Lots of copper though. Okay, but you said so. Was there gold and silver also found in Baghdad?
Yeah,
or?
gold and silver.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, that's so cool. So, as far as the structures in this town, are there any that really stand out to you as being vital to the success of Skull Valley early on, or even today? Of course, this place is phenomenal, but
Yeah. Well, I don't know, the highways.
Highways.
Well, of course, the train.
Okay,
came
yes.
into the one, transportation. Transportation was a key element early on, and it made a lot of changes because instead of horse or wagon or that type of transportation and mail delivery and all that stuff. So in 1894,
okay.
1894 was the first railroad tracks come out of Prescott into Skull Valley.
That's amazing.
May of 1894, and it didn't. That track didn't get to Phoenix until 1895.
Wow, so it took some time to actually make it happen.
Well, transporting through building the between here and Prescott. Have you driven that before?
Yes, yes.
So that's a significant transition for rail.
Yes.
And in 61, 62, they bypassed Prescott because of that hill, that grade.
Are you aware of what like the working conditions were back then on the rail? Because you said your dad was involved in the rail, right?
Oh, yeah.
So what was it like in that time working on such unstable terrain? And
Well, part of the early section crews that maintained the tracks, and probably the construction too, involved coming across large stretches of reservation.
okay.
And so they negotiated a right to supply labor to the railroads.
Wow.
And so when I was growing up as a kid here, quite a few of the crew were Navajo
Okay.
and or Spanish and a variety of cultures,
Of course.
but labor, basic labor. And at one time we had a cruise quarters for the railroad. The initial development was up here near where the general store is and the
Yes.
trailer park. That's where the first construction, or first depot station site was located. We had a ramp, loading ramp for mining, boards coming out of Copper Basin, for livestock, some Angora goat and cattle and horses and whatnot, loading there, and that depot was built in 1890. The original depot was 1896, 2 years after the rails.
Wow.
And then the next depot was a depot design, but the original depot was just a large building.
Of course.
Square box or rectangular box building, and it had everything, took care of everything.
Wow.
But then they finally moved it.
So you moved here at a really young age, correct?
At 5.
At 5. Wow. So do you have memories of the general store when it was, because it closed fairly recently, right?
The biggest picture that I remember is that the candy displays side by side was right at eye level as I walked by. And it was,
Wow.
that was a rare expenditure.
Of course. What kind of candies did you pick up from there?
Whatever my dad didn't mix his dad to buy, it was so.
He's a smart man. Smart man. I like that.
Yeah.
Whatever you can get. So since 5 years old, You've seen this place grow and change. So what has been some of the more significant changes you've seen from your time here in School Valley?
Well, from dirt road to Prescott to partially paved road to Prescott to
Wow.
paved road all the way. And I was in the Navy before it was all paved.
Really?
I was working home in the Navy.
Wow. I can't imagine. I mean, even driving on paved roads here, that can give me a little bit of a scare sometimes.
In the early days, the folks, the pioneers that settled in here, they would take a day for shopping to go into Prescott and then do their shopping, and the next day would come back.
Wow. So that's a
team
giant
of wagon.
trip. That's insane.
Yeah.
Wow. So it was that in. Of course, we're talking horses, right? And related to hybrids. Wow. And not even on a gravel road, just dirt.
Yeah, dirt, not a what we see as a gravel road today.
Of course.
If you get a good idea, if you take Copper Basin Road and go into Prescott,
Okay.
that would give you a better idea of, they're not supered, so that when it curves and everything, sometimes the super is just opposite. You go around, it's landed the wrong way, so you don't
my.
want to take the curve very fast.
Oh, I'm gonna have to check that out. I'll take a look. I don't know if you're interested in driving that one, but I am a little bit.
Do you have a pickup or a SUV?
No, I have a car. Probably get stuck.
If you're careful, you might make it in the car, but it's preferably
Yeah,
a
maybe
little higher clearance.
drive up at the
Drive
front.
a little slower.
Of course. No, I'll have to call my sister up here. So you said you were in the Navy. Do you mind talking about your personal experience or in the Navy or? I'm interested in you too. So
I'm available if you're
Of course.
asking the
Yes,
questions.
sir. So, what was your job in the Navy?
I was an electronics technician.
Wow.
Basically, the common word description would be I was a radio operator in
Okay.
a seaplane.
Oh, so you were on a seaplane, on actual.
They
Wow.
landed and took off on the sea, surface of the sea.
That's amazing.
And the aircraft engines is why I have hearing aids in both ears.
No.
I could almost touch the props,
Oh my.
just like that.
So is this a
And it was
single?
just a thin, single metal sheet between me and aircraft engines. So, and they had no ear protection.
Did you feel pretty confident in that, or in the plane?
Yeah, we had a few exciting moments, but when the U-2 got shot down, it gave us a little concern. And our navigator goofed up one day, and it was in a hurricane season up there, and we were flying the China coast,
Oh,
Red
wow.
China, and happened to look down, and it was the same week that the U-2 got shut down. We found ourselves over that Red China military base,
Oh no.
and we thought, oh, well, we're fried. So we turned, and this plane's ability to fly right down just above the waves is what saved us.
Oh wow. Landing in this is around what years was that?
55 or 56.
So we're talking. This is Mao Zedong time, right? I mean, that's a rough. You do not want to end up in China. Wow, that's amazing. Did you end up deploying like actually on the ground in some places, or were you mostly just doing flyover
It
missions?
was shipping and submarine surveillance. It was anti-submarine warfare is what it was.
Oh wow, that's amazing.
In our spare time, we would keep track of what country, what ship, and whether it was loaded or unloaded, and we'd fly low, blast past it, and take pictures and get the basic information of the ship.
That's so amazing. So I mean, you're basically intelligence. I mean, that's the type of work. I'm assuming it's a bit of a clearance to get
Well,
that. Right?
Whidbey Island is Washington. Wood Island, I think it's Wood Island. we would fly over it, and it was one that's probably even in recent times, it was famous for its bat guano concentration. And both China and Japan claimed, and there was still, and I'm not sure which of the units were, I think it was probably China at the time, because at that time there wasn't any real issues with Japan. We visited Japan for rest and recreation.
Of course.
But anyway, we flew over that island. I went into the went past the intelligence officer's door after we'd come back in, and he waved me in. You see that little black dot down there on the picture? Yeah, what's that? That was their anti-aircraft gun following me.
Oh.
And so they never shot at us, but
Just kind of.
it lets you realize that it wasn't always flying in the friendly zone.
Oh wow, that must be. I mean, at the very least, an exciting experience. I don't know if it's terrifying or not, but that's.
Yeah, we had a loss of an engine one time.
Oh no.
That was a little excitement until we had to change an engine out of Guam.
Of course.
My brother was in a plane that actually had to land in the open sea because of loss of engine.
Wow.
When they were transpacting back from the Philippines, we had foreign duty in the Philippines.
How'd you like that?
Yeah, it was hot, humid. It was different culture.
Of course.
And it was our duty, it was our job, so that's what we did. We got a little DDT spray at night because of the mosquitoes. We were living in Quonset huts.
What's that?
It's a metal Quonset.
Oh boy.
And and then bunks in there, you know.
Okay.
They had the air vent along each side, but they'd come along with a fogging machine at night and just fog, and your mattress and everything would get this bug spray on it.
Oh man.
So we were kind of exposed to some chemicals.
Some nasty stuff. That's never fun. So, what year did you end up actually leaving the service?
Why did I leave?
Or what year?
Oh,
Around
56.
Okay, wow, that's a big one. Because I mean, even still today, we still have issues with Koreans, and then the DMZ is still
The
very active.
Vietnam War was a lot worse conditions.
Yes, yeah.
And I never got into really real direct combat,
It's good though.
so I was fortunate.
Those flyover missions, though, that's incredibly interesting to
The what?
The flyover missions. Those are incredibly interesting to hear about. I mean, because you'll never. I mean, even today, like it's the veterans are very hesitant to talk about their service. So I'm very pleased that you were willing to share that.
Yeah.
So let me ask, so I want to get into your bread and butter. I want to know about the wildlife in the area, because I love that too. So what do we got over here in Squaw Valley?
In the Navy, I was in electronics, and I proceeded and made rank about as quick as you could make it.
Oh wow.
And so I thought, well, that's electronics, this should be my field, so I went in electrical engineering at college.
Okay.
And I got halfway through that course, and they put me in electromagnetism, a class in electromagnetism.
Oh wow.
This is nothing I'm interested in. And so it really turned me off.
Of course.
And so I dropped out of college, went to work for a Fuse aircraft company, and then got married, and dropped back into college in wildlife management.
Wow.
Which is quite a change, electrical engineering to wildlife management.
Yeah, it's a real big jump.
And I went to the University of Arizona Wildlife Management co-op unit.
Okay.
Cooperative unit. And finished out my college in 2.5 years after the 2 years in engineering. So
Wow.
I had a little longer stay in college.
Pretty good though, not too much more. That's impressive.
Anyways, I started working for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. Colorado was the San Luis Valley in Colorado was the first station, and it was about ducks and geese and sandy-o cranes, and I loved it.
Man. So of all the things you've seen, what's the craziest thing you've seen in your time when you're working with the wildlife out in I mean, because you've been across the Southwest now.
Crazy thing. I don't know. Probably some of the things that people do.
Some of the things people do. That's,
Wildlife management, to a great extent, is people management.
yes.
And basically,
Yes.
you try to manage the wildlife habitat resource in such a way that it benefits the wildlife, the plant
Yes.
habitat, wildlife. And to do that, and yet have political connections, because your
Yes.
budget is affected.
Of course.
You have to have an exposure to public use on refuges. So we had some places where hunting, fishing, nature trails, we took programs out into the community for environmental education, that type of thing, military bases particularly. So anyway, but some of the weirdest things was when I got hit in the chest with a double-barreled shotgun.
Oh my.
And the fellow didn't realize what he was doing at the time, but he dropped something on the ground, had his shotgun over his shoulder,
Yeah.
and bent down to pick it up and hit me right in the chest with a double-barreled shotgun.
Oh my.
And at the State Game and Fish in Montana, one of the hunters, they had a hunting program too, and it was a very similar unit to what my unit that I was managing, threw a duck into the boat, and it caused the shotgun in the boat to discharge and kill the other fellow.
Oh wow. While you were on duty.
Well, at the same time, I was in the
Yeah.
I was managing waterfowl hunting on my refuge, and this happened at the State Game and Fish,
Oh, my.
about 30 miles west of where my refuge was.
That's terrible. So really, it's not even the animals that are the problem. It's,
No, the people, and
Yeah.
when you do law enforcement,
of course.
you're exposed. And the State Game and Fish Department employees, deputies, they're probably exposed to more hazard than most of the street policemen are.
Wow.
Because you're out there and your clients are armed,
Yes.
and you don't know, are they good, bad, or otherwise, you know?
Man, that's terrifying.
I sat down next to hunters that violated the game laws, and I turned and told them, I said, well, let me see your hunting license. I'm deputy game warden, and a refuge manager was, and he says, I could have turned and shot you. I said, yeah, but you didn't, did you? But, you know, you get comments like that, and it kind of opens your eyes to
Yeah.
how exposed you are. Had some guys out shooting at swans. They weren't legal to shoot at.
Oh no.
And so, yeah, you know, people, it's the human law enforcement interaction that.
That's a bummer. So have you ever had any bad run-ins with any kind of wildlife animals, or they've been pretty mild?
Well, doing trapping on elk, I could have been ripped apart by the front feet of the elk.
By the elk.
When you're trapping elk, they're stressed out,
Yes.
needless to say. And so, but they can that's their big defense in wolves or coyotes or anything else, is their front hooves.
Oh, wow.
And I could have been shredded because I was holding onto the trap side of the trap, the chute where the trap, we go into weigh and vaccinate and pregnancy test the elk. And this elk got down and wouldn't go on into the chute, squeeze chute. So I was down and kicking her in the rump get her to go on into the thing, and then my one arm come out of the shoulder come out. So I hollered up a couple of days, pulled me out.
That's super interesting. I don't think most people realize how powerful, particularly like deer and elk. I mean, they act so docile that typically in nature, I've never had a scary run into, like, I mean, the power in those hooves, you have to imagine it's very, very strong. Man, it's extremely exciting. So back, just kind of winding back to the human element about how the environment is. For my students that are watching, what is one thing that, as an individual person, my students can do to try and conserve the environment and kind of try and protect it and avoid some of the problems that lead to damaging the wildlife?
That's a big question. And, taking a conservative attitude toward the use of resources, understand, but there's so much involved. I used to get really concerned about the endangered species.
Okay.
But when you come to realize who the creator is, he created all of this stuff.
Yes.
And he's going to recreate the earth.
Of course.
And so if you believe in God,
yes.
and I do believe in God, and so I got less concerned, because if the good Lord wants the moving grain or the passenger pigeon or any of the other extinct animals or habitat, he's got the power to replace it.
You're right. I mean, you even seen in recent times. I know there's been a couple of extinct animals that have been actually reappearing. I mean, I can't explain how, but there's been a few of them that are supposed to be gone.
Extinct,
yeah,
jaguar, or
come back up. It's an amazing process. So. What kind of wildlife in this specific Skull Valley is because I know up in Prescott there's a lot of lizards, snakes, and stuff. Of course, probably some of that here. But what kind of wildlife is specific to Skull Valley?
Unique to Skull Valley?
Yes.
Well, when I was a kid, there was a Gila monster.
Gila monster.
I saw along the railroad track. They're still in the Kirkland area.
Okay.
So early on, there used to be elk
Okay.
here, different species of elk. But in recent times, we've had elk come back in.
Oh, nice.
Because they were transplanted.
Okay.
On the other hand, the State Game and Fish Department has transplanted the creature, the javelina, which was lower desert critter.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, I think if they had taken a popular vote, they wouldn't have got approval for transplanting javelina into the headwaters of a couple of these watersheds.
Seems a little conservative.
So, because people don't like javelina digging up their bulbs and getting in the garden and eating their bird seed, and they're somewhat of a hazard. They're tough on dogs. Barbara's had to repair her dog. Major cost.
So javelina's accurate.
Yeah.
Wow.
The dog doesn't have a chance against those big canines, or what do you call them?
So the dog just can't get it. So there's the tusks that are sitting there tearing up the dogs.
Yeah, they tear up the dog. They're a lot worse than the dog can tear up the javelina.
It's not a good situation.
Because the javelina has a much tougher hair structure than what a dog has.
Okay.
And so it's more resistant to, I've worked in the game and fish department. I had javelina getting into my orchard,
Oh no.
digging under my fence. I thought I'd build a fence where they
Keep them out.
would keep them out, but that barbed wire on the ground, they just dug deeper, and what they know there's apples in there on the ground, they can smell them.
Man.
They dig and they dig, and I had to get them to come out 3 times,
That's
2 or
insane.
3 times.
That's
The only
that's
way
fast.
to divert the javelina was, and it was fairly effective, and it's a bird shot.
Bird shot.
Pistol with a bird shot, run at them and shoot that bird shot at them, and that loud noise, I think, is what gets them, and they get to where they want to avoid that.
Wow. So is the javelina still pretty prevalent in the area even today?
Oh, yeah.
Wow. That's unpleasant. I know you.
That's a negative aspect of
Yeah.
wildlife management.
Oh man. So.
But it sells, they sell license plates, and hey, Arizona Game and Fish Department depends on its budget
Yes.
for sales of hunting license. A lot of the state game and fish departments are
Okay.
dependent upon it.
So it's a massive part of the revenue.
You know, they do what they can to survive, and
Of course.
it's just one of those things.
Causes a little bit of issue for the residents.
But that javelina has come from South America,
Okay.
all the way
Really?
up and
I didn't realize
across
that.
Central America, and so that animal is adaptable to
Yeah.
climate change, and so it can come to higher elevations because it's gone over mountain passes and stuff to get from South America up to Central America.
It doesn't bother it at all.
Well, they seem to be able to do it. Adaptation.
So, let me ask you this. As far as, I guess it's the valley mine as well that I had read about. Is that something that you know about in the town?
I'm sorry, say it again.
It's a Sweet Valley Mine, I think it's called. I may be misreading it.
Kirkland? You're talking about a mine that was adverse to the human environment,
Correct.
and it was for pozzolan.
Yes, Osland. I read about that. That's what I
Okay,
read about.
and it's basically a supplement for cement,
Oh, yes, yes.
and the BLM did issue, as I understand, a go-ahead for that mining outfit
Stay
to
free.
produce the pozzolan, and their own tests found areonite in the material.
What is Arianite?
Areonite is a carcinogenic element
Oh, no.
many times worse than asbestos,
Really?
really.
Wow.
And they found it in their sample, and they weren't trying to find it.
No.
And so, to me, BLM is wrong at approving that.
It sounds like
It's
it.
much more carcinogenic than asbestos.
Yes,
And it's
that's
a very minute particle.
not good. Yeah.
And airborne, we have winds. They're taking the chance of exposing a lot of people. If they're taking the plant to the Drake plant,
Yeah,
north of
yes.
Prescott, goes through the Prescott,
Wow.
Williamson Valley routing. So I really think that was a very misguided decision.
Yes, I would say so. I would definitely say we have in New Mexico we have the Animas River, and the Gold King mine. We actually had a spill that it contaminated the water for a while, and ended up actually contaminating the mines down there on the Navajo reservation. And as you can see, I mean, on the reservation you have to travel some time to get off of it to get any water. So I mean, even something small like that, it significantly impacted our fishing, our ability for tourism. That's a major mistake by the beginning.
I think there's no question where the human population is going, and if we're moving to where the human habitat is becoming a more critical element
Yes.
in the landscape, and if we don't realize that, we need to evaluate these development proposals
Entirely.
as to what it's doing to the human environment,
Of course.
because there's going to be more demand for quality environment versus contaminated environment.
Well, I'll tell you, my generation is, even the conservative elements, we're becoming very, we think that it's important to have living space out there, just a place where we can actually experience the environment. In Phoenix, you go to Phoenix and it's like a concrete jungle. You can't escape the heat, you can't escape the city, it's so congested. And I think a place like this, it's so beautiful. People need to get out here more often and see places like this. And really,
That's why when I retired, I came back to Skull Valley.
such a nice place. But let me ask you. One more thought. I guess, what would you say to people who are interested in coming to Skull Valley?
What are their interests?
What would you say to people who are interested in coming to Skull Valley but haven't actually made the trip?
Why should they come to see Skull Valley?
Yes.
Boy, do I have mixed emotions on that. Well, look at what's happening to our human population.
Of course.
The politics, the cultures.
Yes.
Why would I want to invite
Yes.
more and more people to
course.
come and dump their trash and
Yeah, no, that's a good
their
point.
noise and
That's very,
their obnoxious habits
course.
on my little Skull Valley?
no, you're right, Makes sense.
So, I think if a person wants peace and quiet and
Yes.
good, quiet living,
Yes.
Skull Valley is a good place. That's why.
It's beautiful. It really is beautiful. Beautiful place.
So we don't have a lot of, well, we get occasional military flight come over or whatnot. It's a little noisy, but our military is important.
Yes.
And my granddaughter was in Lockheed Martin.
Wow.
She was first lady engineer for Bell Hill College.
Really? That's a big deal. It's a very big deal. It's impressive.
So, yeah, military defenses.
So, I think that basically wraps up the interview portion. I do want to thank you again, Mr. Pearson.
Sure.
Your time has been more than valuable to me. I couldn't put a price on the information you've given me, and this is.
Well, I'm
experience.
just one person with one perspective on things.
Yes,
And,
sir.
I try to treat people fairly and try to have truth.
Of course, sir.
Understand, but I'm just a country boy and a sinner.
That's the best kind.
And, well, the sinner part of it isn't the best kind, but there's none of us immune to that.
Yeah. Yes, sir. All right. Well, let's. I'd like to see the town if possible. I don't know if there's any specific places I should check out specifically, or.
In the Skull Valley area?
Correct.
Yeah. Well, you haven't gone through the museum.
Yeah, that's
parts of it yet.
Got to do that. Okay.
Yeah,
So
and then I'd like to take you to the largest Fremont cottonwood tree.
yes.
And I just thought I'd, take a lengthwise tour of the valley and kind of tell you where things are and
Perfect. That'd be
a
great.
little
Yeah.
background.
I love it. Sounds good.
We have some petroglyphs and